Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
And the crowd up. And so on, this defense in Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
Dave Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Oh shit.
Yeah. Oh, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the And of course, we're going to end it off with the Chives with Kyle. Oh, let's get it. America is football. Football is America.
Football is America. If you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass.
For the moment in time, I don't give a damn.
Oh
my God.
No.
You loved it. 30 to 27.
No!
Chiefs win. Chiefs
No!
win 30 to 20.
Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. My name's Kyle and that's Rick.
I'm Rick, that's Kyle.
And today, we're going to conclude what we started, what was it, Monday, which was talking about free agents and not just if they're available, but how we view them as far as talent-wise and which teams they might end up in. And we talked about T. Higgins. We disagreed about T. Higgins. I thought that there was a good chance T. Higgins was going to stay with the Bengals.
Yep, you're right.
Zach Bond, another guy that we both talked about. Looks like I'm going to have to do a quick little restart, Rick, if you wanted.
Yeah. I think, is it you or is it me?
I think it's on my end because yours normally doesn't affect me.
Yeah. You're right. If you want to do a quick restart, we can, and I'll kind of get into some of these free agents. But yeah, so Kyle will be right back. Are you going to do like a complete restart, Kyle?
Actually, I think we might have made it through.
Okay, sweet. Let's keep going.
We might have made it through. Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about the free agents that are available, the top free agents, and really, we're not going to get too much into like team needs, but if there's an obvious team that comes to mind, we're going to say, hey, I think that would be a good fit. For instance, T. Higgins, his quarterback in college, Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And maybe, just maybe, Trevor Lawrence would go into next year with T. Higgins and Brian Thomas Jr.
That would be sick.
That would be a good situation.
Yeah.
Now, we do have, it's hard to predict linemen, where they're going to go.
Yeah.
But Trey Smith is the second highest graded free agent, and he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. There's probably, I don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign him there, but that's a good piece for somebody that needs an offensive line, the Bears come to mind, actually. What do you think about that?
This one has been talked about since basically Trey Smith since the Chiefs have been in the playoffs. It's like, are they going to be able to keep Trey Smith? Are they going to put there's a franchise tag, and then there's another tag. I forgot what the other tag was called, but it was basically like a transition tag, which I believe is the Chiefs can match whatever offer.
It's like the non-exclusive.
I think it's called transition tag. I'm not entirely sure, but this one for the Bears works out. Trey Smith is only 26 years old. The Bears need to figure out the offensive line because they need a good amount of pieces there. Trey Smith comes to mind. They can also do it through the draft, but yeah, Trey Smith is up there. Another one that might need offensive line help is the Texans, right? Like we've talked about their offensive line. They need offensive line help. I'm sure Trey Smith is also probably an option for them, but I would love for him to be on the Bears. Doesn't mean that they can't go through the draft for that. But yeah, Trey Smith to the Bears would be sick. No Nick, no Russell Wilson on the Bears. That's not true.
And for just like a quick and dirty, what do the Bears need? Offensive line? Is that it?
Defensive line. So offensive line, defensive line. They say running back, which I agree with. But I feel like if DeAndre Smith had a much better line, I feel like him and the Roschon Johnson duo would work a little bit better than it was last year. Other than that, safety seems to be a concern because of Jaquan Brisker's he's been injury prone in his first couple years in the NFL, and Byard right now he's a little bit on the older side, and he's a veteran who got a 2 or so year deal with the Bears. It's more of like a stopgap for now. So I think safety is up there as well. So I think those 4 positions are probably the biggest need the Bears have right now.
Okay. And I was just talking to a Ravens fan, Ronnie Stanley. He's their tackle, and he's like, I hope we can bring him back, but they're a little uncertain on what's going to go on over there. Josh Sweat is going to be available. He signed an early extension with the Eagles in 2021. Then he revised a 1-year contract for last year, which made the most of the, what did he had, I thought I saw it in here. There it is, 8 sacks in the regular season.
Yeah.
And that's pretty good production. I mean, with the departure of Hassan Reddick, and the injuries to Brandon Graham, Eagles legend Brandon Graham, Sweat had plenty of runway to boost his stock, and he did so on the way to a 75.7 PFF overall grade in the regular season. What do you make of Josh Sweat? I mean, he's obviously a little more than just a guy. They have him ranked number 10 for available free agents. His comparison here is Paul Kruger in 2013. I don't even know who that is.
I don't know who that is either. Josh Sweat, though, I think he's good. It helps that he's an edge and that he had Jalen Carter there kind of as a defensive tackle. And that's not to take away from Josh Sweat. And this is actually one of the times where I'll get this correct. He's an edge. And who needed an edge from the last episode we talked about? The Falcons. The Falcons and obviously the Bears come to mind because, obviously I know exactly what they need. Somebody off of opposite of Montez Sweat, the Sweat brothers, that, making quarterbacks sweat. That would be sick. You know what I mean? To have him on the other side. Only 28 years old. I think he can make an impact, but the Falcons are the number 1 team that come to mind because they were the guys who over last offseason brought in the Matthew Judon from the Patriots, and Judon did nothing for them. You didn't hear his name once with Atlanta. So I know Atlanta is probably looking at Josh Sweat right now being like, yeah, that could be our guy. Like, off the bat, maybe they need some defensive tackles as well, but I know they need somebody off the edge for sure.
Well, if there was ever a guy that understands the concept of money's not everything, it's Josh Sweat. I mean, at one point in time last year, Josh Sweat really believed he wasn't going to be a member of the Eagles last year.
Oh,
He even
true.
posted on his Twitter, "I will miss you all," before ultimately staying in Philly on a pay cut. And we saw this team just won the Super Bowl. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anytime you're dealing with these negotiations with teams that have either gotten really close to a Super Bowl or just won a Super Bowl, it's like, we can't pay everybody, but we would love to keep everybody. So will you take a pay cut? And in Josh Sweat's case, he might be more inclined to after winning a Super Bowl. So basically, I'm saying the decision he just made paid off massively. And maybe that'll, I don't know, come into play with this next decision. But our next guy is, I think, a very debatable topic. Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs, we know about the locker room stuff. We also know about the production. I mean, we're talking about one of the best wide receivers in the NFL last year, and it's so funny how fast we can just turn the page. Last year was one bad season on a very large sample size of Stephon Diggs being the best wide receiver in the league or the number 2 or number 3. And then he goes to a new team. I think somehow the Bills having the amount of success they had without him hurt his stock, even though it had nothing to do with him. And then his lack of production with the Texans, and the Texans kind of taking a sophomore slump with CJ Stroud. It just, the combination of all of it, and then you add the ACL tear, the combination of all of that has really kind of lowered Stephon Diggs' stock, maybe more than he deserves.
Yeah.
And I think some team may be able to benefit off of this, sign the guy on a 3-year, $50 million deal, and get maybe a top 5 receiver. I mean, what do you make of him?
Stephon Diggs.
Are we just closing that book? Like, is that that? I don't know.
It's the weird thing is, like, it's easy to say, like, yeah, he had his attitude problems in Buffalo were obviously an issue, and it sucks because it just seems he comes off as a guy who doesn't put the team first and wants to excel himself. And people are saying that this makes sense for the Texans to continue to keep him. The thing with that is, it's like Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and Stephon Diggs sounds like an awesome wide receiver room until you realize they've all been injured last year, and Nico Collins and Tank Dell for multiple years, they've been injured. So the injury prone label is starting. It's like, okay, sure, maybe CJ Stroud can continue to do it with 1 or 2 out of the 3 guys. But to me, it makes more sense for the Texans to move on from Stephon Diggs and keep Tank Dell and Nico Collins and bring in somebody from the draft if possible, or a much less expensive free agent. If Stephon Diggs is going to get a multiple year deal, in my opinion, it's going to come with some opt-outs after the first, second year or whatever. If it's like a 3-year deal, a 4-year deal, because he is 31, he didn't really do too well, like at least not up to his usual, his last year in Buffalo. And then he got hurt last year with the Texans. So I think that's hurt him as a free agent a lot, especially the reason why he went to the Texans from the Bills. And remember, we talked about Josh Allen being like, yeah, you know, this team, speaking of last year's team, they're really selfless. They put the team first, this and that. So if it makes sense for the Texans, I think they bring him back on a 2-year deal with an opt-out after the first. For maybe, I don't know, 30 mil, 25 mil, if he's going to command that much. But to me, it's like, keep Nico, keep Tank Dell, bring in your other guy, bring in your other receivers, or try to elevate them, because yeah, Stephon Diggs can produce, but I just don't know if he's at that level anymore. And quick shout out to Edub in the chat, and Nick in the chat. Nick saying Diggs to the Browns would be elite drama.
Oh man, that's just like the last place you want to go.
And
That
we'll talk about why, because later on, talking about report cards, the Browns are
Mhm.
definitely on there.
Byron Murphy, cornerback for the Minnesota Vikings. Now this is, in my opinion, somebody that the Vikings have to re-sign. Like we talked about
Yeah.
people that may let their team walk depending on their situation. The Vikings, as good as their defense was last year, and their offense was pretty good with Sam Darnold, the defense was still giving up a lot of passing yards, not because of Byron Murphy either. So I guess what I'm getting at is the Vikings don't really have the luxury of moving off of Byron Murphy. He signed a 2-year, $17 million free agent contract in the 2023 offseason, and he certainly did play up to that deal. He looks like he's a good fit in Brian Flores's uber aggressive scheme, which is always important. And he had 6 interceptions last year, tied for the most among cornerbacks. His coverage grade on throws less than 3 seconds, a 71.7. Coverage grade with no pressure, 70.3. Forced incompletion rate, 7.3. Single coverage grade, 52.1. Brandon Flowers in 2015 as being his free agent comparison. But as I kind of tied this into a pivot, the NFL had posted something. It says 9 players that earned big money contracts in the 2025 offseason. And I'm going to tell you the other players' names, but Byron Murphy is on this list. And what the author wrote is, after 4 so-so seasons with the Cardinals, Murphy joined the Vikings, like I just told you, on a 2-year deal. He shined bright in Brian Flores' savvy defensive system, and he recorded 3 interceptions in his first campaign with the Vikings and then doubled it. So he's got 9 interceptions in the last 2 years. He's helped the Vikings have a league-high 24 total interceptions last year. The veterans' impressive production, while splitting time in the slot and out wide, earned him first Pro Bowl selection. His first Pro Bowl selection. Nice. Sorry, I butchered that, but
apology
it's a little later over here. But all of this to say that this is a young player that's getting better, and he's 27 years old, and he is really making the most of his snaps. That's what I notice when I see a guy has that kind of production and he's splitting time in the slot and out wide. I mean, you got to really like the grind. I mean, goes to Arizona, 4 years with them. Cardinals don't want to keep him. Goes to Minnesota, earns more playing time. Now he's in a line for a big contract. I'm not saying that he needs to reset the market, right, but I'm saying like these are the kind of guys you want to keep.
So with Byron Murphy, and you also have DJ Reed, which one? Because both. So Byron Murphy 27, DJ Reed 28. A year difference, whatever. Reed is more of a number 2 compared to Sauce Gardner, but I feel like he has the opportunity to be a number 1. Who would you take? Would you take Byron Murphy, or would you take DJ Reed, who was honestly like one of the top cornerbacks last season in terms of, I think, PFF grade? And I think we had talked about it during the year as well. But Byron Murphy, 6 interceptions, 27 years old, and excelled in a very, like you said, a very aggressive defensive style. If it's me, I'm going Byron Murphy.
Yeah, I would go. It also depends, like, what the I guess what kind of scheme we're in. Like, if we're in Denver's scheme where they run 5 defensive backs on the field, 2 corners and 3 safeties, with the nickel safeties, then I want Byron Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he had now DJ Reed. He had 6 straight seasons of a 70+ PFF overall grade, whereas Byron Murphy's production is really like the last 2 years. DJ Reed gives us, I think, a larger sample size of
True.
more consistent play.
True.
He ranked 31st among qualifying cornerbacks. And I was just talking about this today because a lot of times the number 2 corner for a team that has an elite number 1 corner, their numbers are usually very, very misleading because you look at those numbers and you're like, oh, 31st. Okay, so he's mediocre. Not necessarily, because when one side of the field is completely shut off, then you are targeting that other corner the entire game over and over. So it's like, yeah, they're gonna have a larger amount of yards per reception given up. They're gonna have more receptions given up. They're also gonna have like triple the targets. So that's what's important. DJ Reed ranking 31st and having that 70+ PFF grade for 6 straight seasons, that's pretty good. And 51.28% lockdown percentage, meaning half of his snaps, the wide receiver is completely locked down, not an option. I think DJ Reed, also my last X factor is if there's like even 2 corners that I'm debating, I want the guy that's been training with Sauce Gardner for the last 3 years.
That's a good point. I like that. The guy that's opposite of Sauce Gardner, and especially with the way the keeping scores down and ranks and things like that. Like they've been good. They've been good. So yeah. I like where you're going with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Malcolm Butler is the free agent comparison, 2018 Malcolm Butler.
Okay.
Which didn't he get the game-winning pick?
I was going to say, I think he's the one who got the game-winning pick against the Seahawks when they didn't run Marshawn Lynch. Oh, real quick, Nick put up something here. Breaking news, the NFL is ditching the chain gang next season. I looked at it really quick. Not totally true, Nick, but actually thank you for putting our attention to this. Among other changes, and this is from ESPN, the NFL plans to use its virtual measuring system to determine first downs in 2025. This wouldn't eliminate the officials who manually spot the ball and use chains to mark the line to gain. The optimal tracking system notifies officiating instantly if a first down was gained after the ball is spotted by hand. So it's more of a supplement to spotting the ball. Not necessarily replacing it, but
yeah, because you still want to have a visual cue.
Yeah, exactly.
Of like where it is if you're a player, right? How are you gonna outstretch if you have no idea, where the fucking first down is?
So I don't know. What do you think? What are your initial thoughts? Because I like that. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I like it too. I like anything that is being added without taking anything away. Yep. Now, without sounding like a old boomer, I do think that the chains are a part of the game, just like grass is a part of the game.
Yep.
Just like referees are part of the game. As much as we talk shit about the refs, if they would be like, next year AI is going to be making all the calls and it's got 100% correct, I would be like,
big-breasted AI referee is going to come on your screen and call first downs or not.
Well, okay, you left that detail out. Then I'd probably be okay. But in all reality, like, there are certain like parts of the game that, Jacksonville growing up, anytime they got a first down, which was not often, the whole stadium would go, "That's good for Jacksonville first down," and they would go, "Move those chains, move those chains, move those chains, move them." And there's just so much like T-shirts, move the chains, and it's like if there's not actually chains out there, like those things just kind of fall short of what they're, you know, I don't know. I mean, that's how I feel about it. Now, I also think, yeah, why have we waited so long to have better technology implemented into the NFL? I still don't know why. When the refs throw a flag and we look at the replay and it was A, the wrong player, B, the wrong team, or C, wasn't even a penalty. Like, I'm talking about the blatant ones. I'm not talking about when the NFL was like, hey, do you guys want to challenge a pass interference? Because that was messy. I didn't have a huge problem with it, but it did kind of, I think it hurt the quality of the game more than it helped it.
We're talking Rams Saints in the playoffs. Blatant. Yeah.
I don't understand why it's like, there's nothing we can do about it. It reminds me of, like, there's a scene in the movie where he's like, we've gone too far. And he's like, no, we can literally turn around. And they zoom out and they're like right next to the door. Like, we can literally just turn around. He's like, we've gone too far. Like, why does the NFL have to believe that once that flag is thrown, for better or for worse, it's a done deal? I don't understand it. I really don't. These blatant calls, and then they say, okay, 2022 or 23, we're going to have New York. They're going to be able to do what's called an expedited review. Amazing. This is exactly what I'm calling for, but not just on reviews, on missed penalties.
Exactly.
If you can do an expedited review on whether his knee was down, why can't you do an expedited review on whether somebody even grabbed that player's face mask? You know, I just don't understand. Like, I don't want to say that it's intentional to keep the game random. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. Like, I just want one good reason why. That's all.
Personally, I would want an AI generated big-breasted referee to tell me whether it was a first down and just like constantly jumping up and down, touchdown.
Instead of face mask, it's face mask.
Face mask. And to make it equal, we'll just have just a fucking donkey dick swinging ref as well for the ladies who watch the NFL.
Dude,
right?
I
Keep
can't go
things
out
equal.
there every Sunday.
Kyle, let's AI generate Kyle. Because Kyle's swinging a hammer. I'm going to say that right now, all right? We're going to put Kyle on. You know what? That's what we're going to put on this YouTube channel. Just a fucking elephant trunk between his legs.
What did you guys talk about today?
It's Kyle's trunk just picking up the ball, putting him above the first down marker.
Spotting it. Get out of here. We're talking football.
Why do you have your shirt off? Oh shit. But I like that they're adding this for sure. I do enjoy the more, like you said, the more it helps like get stuff, like not only like get calls quicker, but get them right. It's better. And the AI generated refs would be the best.
The NFL is implementing postseason overtime rules for the regular season next year, which I think is way overdue. I mean, as soon as the NFL in the postseason was like, okay, guys, we can't tie anymore because, people need to move on to the next round of the playoffs. It's like, yeah, no shit. What other game do we play and a tie is acceptable?
The most popular in the U.S., none. But soccer, all the time.
Soccer does tie, but not in the World Cup, right?
No, only in like the first group stages, I believe. Everything after that, it's elimination.
I get that though, because even baseball, like if your basketball doesn't do it, but if you play, I think if you play that many games, like the soccer schedule is a ton of games, right?
It's like year long. Like there's like 30 different soccer leagues.
it's totally acceptable to just be like, this one's a tie. Like, we can't be out here, playing 3 more games. But the NFL, I don't know where this came from. I really gotta believe that they were like, well, nobody really thought that a game could go into overtime and then there wouldn't be a winner. So the rule was just never made.
Yeah.
And then when it happened, they were like, well, there is no rule. So I guess it's a tie.
I wonder if it's because like certain, like let's go with baseball. Baseball can last 6 hours. It could go into the 23rd inning. And it could probably be delayed until another day, but they will not tie. Football, but also how physical is baseball versus football? And I think maybe that's one of the factors that goes into it. It's like, okay, guys, we can't go into triple OT like they do in the NBA week 12. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to get hurt, you know?
My thing is like, how often is that?
That's true. That's also true.
It's very frequent. And then on top of that, it's like, if the NFL was that concerned about player safety, then they would have thrown Thursday Night Football away completely.
Yeah.
To be like, okay, you guys just went through like 10 car accidents, and tomorrow you game plan. Then, the next day we're going to do our walkthrough, and then we got to fly to across the country and get ready to do it again. That's, I don't know, especially when you like think about how like far and few between the double overtime. I mean, okay, I'll meet you in the middle here. If double OT ties, let's keep it a tie.
Yeah, I can fucks with that. Also, and we also got to take into consideration too, like what happened to the Chiefs the last few games during that whole Christmas period where they were playing 3 games in like 10, 11 days, and the Ravens were playing 3 games in like 12 days. It was insane.
Yeah, like you should never be playing 3 football games in a 10-day period. It just should never happen. I mean,
yeah.
But okay, so the rules that currently exist in the overtime is that whoever receives the ball first has become more of an advantage than pre-2011 when it was sudden death period. Receiving teams have won 56.8% of the games in overtime from 2017 to 2024, which is up from 55.4% from 2001 to 2011. And Vincent said, I think it's time to revisit the overtime rule. Yeah. Because if you have a team winning 56.8% of the time, then it looks like, okay, whoever's receiving the ball first is pretty much going to win the game. Mm-hmm. You have a better than a coin toss chance of winning, because under the current rules, the only way to get the ball back is if you hold them to a field goal. Mm-hmm. And then if you kick a field goal, it's sudden death. If you score a touchdown, you win. But most of the time, whoever receives the ball drives down, scores, and then the game's over. Okay. Before the rule was changed in 2017, it was whoever scores first, any amount, a field goal, a touchdown, doesn't matter. The game ends right there. Mm-hmm. So we had a rule change that was like, okay, let's give the other team a chance. The problem is the only way they get a chance is if they were to hold them to not scoring a touchdown. And with how offensive friendly the game has become, with protecting the quarterback and the penalties on the defensive side of the ball, it's not like back in the day where it's like you got to earn a field goal. I mean, people are scoring 40, 50 points a game. Scoring was down last year, but overall, like, scoring is way up. So I think it's the right thing to do is to what I would say is, and I'll give you what they're going to suggest, but before I even read it, I would say whether they score a touchdown or not, the other team gets a chance to score a touchdown. They possess the ball, but they have to go for 2.
Oh, okay. I like that. Shout out Daniel
And if
Barry.
they don't score a touchdown, then the game's over.
Yeah, I like that. I also like this. Nick said, head coaches pistol duel for the ball. I like that one. I like that one. So you
Oh,
have
okay. I'm thinking of like the pistol offense.
no. We're talking death on the field. Like you've got to be really
Thinking
good.
like Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, you shot first. I win. Like I'm trying to intimidate you. No, I want death on the field, dude. I want last year to Eberflus to get shot. No, I'm just kidding. But I like that. I like that
We are
suggestion, Nick.
we are we are going to what was Nick said, speed running that community strike. Rick
Yeah.
is fine.
We're getting off topic, but I appreciate it for bringing that up, Nick. Let's move on into one of our other things we were going to talk about. And again, shout out Daniel Barry in the chat. Kyle, you wanted to talk about this. You know, Travis Hunter is a Heisman winner of college football last year. One of the, and probably the biggest reason is because he played as a cornerback and he also played as a wide receiver, and he excelled at both. You know, in terms of like how many snaps he was getting per game and overall through his season. Now there is an article here that says the Titans and the Browns disagree on Travis Hunter's starting position in the NFL. But the bigger thing, I think the biggest question is, and it's something that we had talked about, was could he play cornerback and wide receiver in the NFL? Now I had said I don't think that he could. I think it's the game to me wouldn't suit a player and wouldn't be healthy for a player to play on defense and an offense, because that is a ton of reps. That is you have to have like magnificent. What's the term I'm looking for? You have to have like really good endurance is the term I'm looking for. You have to have great endurance. You got to be able to hit and take hits. And you just mentioned it earlier, like, hey, you just got in 10 car crashes, right? Going from Sunday game to a Thursday game. You're going to take a rest day tomorrow, go over film, fly to this city, and then do it again on Thursday. Could you imagine Travis Hunter doing a Sunday to Thursday on both sides of the ball? So what the question here is, can Travis Hunter play both ways? You guys got my point of view. Kyle, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think people are too stuck on this can't be done. He's definitely different than the other guys. I mean, how many other guys have been in this situation? I mean, that right there should tell you that his conditioning is insane. His catching is just natural when you watch him play wide receiver. He's obviously not like just being forced into the position. Like he is the best receiver on the field in every game that he plays. He's got probably the best body control maybe I've seen, period. So that, I mean, that goes really good with receiving. I know that he's a starting corner. I think he'll probably play like 25 to 30% of the wide receiver snaps as well. But his endurance has to already be at, I think we just have to accept that he's just a special player, and they don't come around very often. And like, I think he's worthy of being selected number 1 overall. I think he's that special. And I don't think he'll come anywhere close to matching the production he had at Colorado in the NFL. But I still think he'll make an impact on both sides of the ball in the NFL.
And Brian Callahan, the coach of the Tennessee Titans, would say that being a two-way starter in the NFL is very realistic. To quote him, he's a unique player. There's not a whole lot of players you could compare, to what he's done. There's not many guys that have played that many snaps on both sides of the ball. You watch his tape and you see his ability to play both wide receiver and cornerback at a very high level. Now, where he would lean towards making Hunter is a cornerback, whereas the Cleveland Browns general manager says, Andrew Berry says, he would start him as a wide receiver. So the question, I think, too, is he is, like you said, he's a special guy. And if he can play both ways in the NFL, like that is a force to be reckoned with in the NFL, no matter what team you are, right? Like you see this guy on both sides of the field, you got a game plan for him. But where does he get more of the reps, in your opinion?
Probably wherever the team that drafts him needs him. And I
can
know
agree with
that's
that.
like a cop-out answer, but I think if you stick him at wide receiver and he's getting a ton of reps, I think he's going to be an amazing wide receiver. I think the two-way thing it's going to be difficult in the NFL, but I just think it's because we haven't seen it. And when we had an older generation that saw it, but our generation has never seen it. Like most of us don't remember watching Deion Sanders play.
Yeah.
You know?
Crafty had a really good comment. Deion had a workaround for that. Just don't tackle.
But yeah,
That's
I
good.
mean, I think he could be a really good wide receiver in the league. I think there's an argument to be made that he's the best defensive back in this year's draft class. And I would bet, depending on the coach that he gets, is going to really dictate how long that leash is. I mean, because it's like, as a coach, you have a responsibility to keep a player out of his own way, where it's like, we know that you think you can do it, but we got to keep you healthy because we got to protect our investment. I mean, what are they going to think if you get hurt out there? Because, the first thing they're going to say, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, if a guy got hurt and he's only playing defensive back, nobody makes a story. But once you're playing both sides of the ball, it's like he got hurt because of the snaps. And it's not like we have a ton of analytical data on this because it doesn't happen. So any of those stats are just assumptions in the first place. Now, obviously, if you're on the field 50% more than the other guys, you maybe have that 50% more chance of being injured, but I don't think it works that way because some players are just more prone to injury. I mean, we know this. We see that there are some players that are always hurt, and then there's people that live long careers in the NFL and you never really see them get hurt. And I mean, Tom Brady had one injury his whole career. And I played into his 40s and he had one injury.
Got Matt Castle paid, baby.
Yeah. I think, and Jimmy Garoppolo.
And Jimmy G. Yeah, you're right.
A good agent would probably tell him to play wide receiver, and that's the position that'll get him paid the most money. Playing cornerback, you have a higher risk of injuries and wear and tear. And then when it's time to negotiate, they'll use that against him, saying that he's injury prone. But also, like, cornerback is the second hardest position to play in the league after quarterback.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's so good at it, I just don't know. It's like they don't grow on trees. Like, what if you have a shutdown cornerback in your locker room and you need a corner and you're just using him as a standout wide receiver? It's a great problem to have, but I just don't know if I'm a coach and I got a player that is like, I can do this and I have a serious need on my team, if I'm going to hold him back. I think I'm going to let him loose and be like, that's why we drafted you, because you're different than anybody in your generation.
So one question I've got for you too, and we'll wrap it up after this. Let's take the Jaguars into consideration, right? They don't really have a standout cornerback. And you had a really good season from Brian Thomas Jr. in his rookie season. Now, obviously with rookies, who knows exactly how their careers continue to go. But if you bring in, let's say, a guy like a Travis Hunter, and kind of going with what you said, right? Like, where are you primarily playing him? Do you, if you're the Jaguars, primarily play him at like cornerback? And this is just the Jaguars I'm using as an example. This could go for a plethora of other teams, but they're the first ones that came in mind.
This is who I had him being drafted here.
Okay, so then perfect. So if Brian Thomas Jr., for example, God forbid, gets injured week 1, and yeah, you've still got Christian Kirk, and you've got their tight end. I'm forgetting his name right now, Evan Ingram. What do you do now? Because they don't really have a shutdown corner, right? And like you said, cornerback is tough, and you got to have like a bit of attitude. You got to have some cockiness, some confidence, I would say. But wide receiver is huge too for a guy like Trevor Lawrence, who had a down year last year. So where are you primarily playing him in a situation like a Jaguars team?
Yeah, I mean, for the Jaguars, you got to keep in mind the head coach, Liam Cohen, offensive guy. Mm-hmm. He's going to want Travis Hunter to be on the offensive side of the ball.
True.
Like, I think Liam Cohen could do some really cool things with Travis. And, like, the couple of times that we see him in the preseason, mm-hmm. I think will be through the lens of, can he play both ways? I mean, I expect him to play both sides of the ball in the preseason, and that's going to be kind of like a feeler. I mean, they're also going to kind of give us an idea of what's going on during the off-season facility events. Like, what is he doing? Like, why is he taking defensive snaps if they don't have any interest in him taking defensive snaps?
Yeah.
Now, what I think is like the most logical thing that'll happen, at least right off the bat, because, dude, going to the NFL, even in one position, can be just a lot. And if you got an offensive coach with a big playbook, it's like you're going to throw that at him and all these defenses. I mean, I think it is possible that he'll get there, but I think they're going to throw him in that corner, and that's what he's going to do. And then in his first year, you're gonna see. I think he's gonna do like some return duties, something like that, punt return, maybe kick return, probably not kick return, punt return for sure. And then third downs, you're gonna see him come in. I think not just third downs, but like third downs and random plays.
Yep.
Maybe first down randomly, he just runs in. And also, when you use him that way, you get to use him as a decoy. See, if he's out there,
that's a good point.
Well, yeah, if he's out there every single play, it's like, okay, we have to account for him. But if he's not even a starting offensive player, then especially in the beginning part of the season, he's not even something the defense game planned for. And then he rolls in, and it's like, shit. Travis Hunter just came into the game.
What the fuck are we gonna do?
Just stand over at the corner and just do nothing, and you're gonna have a lot of attention directed that way. And then when teams suspect that he's a decoy, then they'll actually give him the ball and he'll burn you. I mean, this is gonna be a lot of fun. That's all I know.
And it's gonna be super interesting to see where these teams put this guy, because like you said, he's dynamic and great body control. Next up on the agenda, we're going to talk the best running backs in the 2025 draft. Obviously, we all know Ashton Jeanty is probably going to be the number 1 overall picked running back. So first picked running back, not the number 1 overall pick, but first out of this draft class for running backs. But we got to talk about some other ones too. Now, one of the reasons too is, Kyle, your Broncos need a running back.
Yes.
I think all of Denver, Bronco Nation, Broncos country knows that the 3-headed monster that you guys had, there was good games, and the majority of them were just not very good games for them to have. So let's get into it. Obviously, again, Ashton Jeanty, do you think he goes like top 10?
I think it's possible that he goes top 5.
Oh, I like that. Let me go to Tankathon to see what that looks like again. Tennessee. Sorry, Tankathon? Titans, Browns, Giants, Patriots, Jaguars.
let me pull it up with you just so I can visually. Okay, here we go. So we got Titans at 1. I do expect this order to change.
Nick said there was one good game with that running back room. What were you saying? Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so Titans, Browns, Giants, Patriots, Jaguars. Okay, maybe not top 5, because in that top 5, it's like you got for sure Tennessee taking a quarterback.
Yep.
Now I could see maybe Cleveland doing it, but I think they're going to get Abdul Carter, which I said as soon as Myles Garrett asked for a trade, I said Abdul Carter is going to the Browns because they're like, okay, that's a win-win. We draft his replacement and we get all of this draft capital. But I think it's likely that the Browns would actually, because if they, let's say the Giants, right, were picking at 3, and the Patriots, who don't need a quarterback, we're probably going to get, they just paid Ramondre Stevenson, so they're not going to be getting a running back. And then the Jaguars, Will Johnson. I mean, the Jaguars are like the first wild card. They could go a lot of different directions with their pick. But if you're the Browns, it's like, okay, is picking Abdul Carter high at number 2? Well, if the Giants, they're not going to trade up to the number 2 spot, right? Because it's like, we know Cleveland's not taking a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think they do.
But why wouldn't the Browns take a quarterback? That's the real question. So when the Giants are sitting back, like, we're totally good, we're totally safe, it's like, dude, you guys might not be able to have this luxury of just assuming the Browns aren't going to take a quarterback when they're in one of the worst quarterback situations in the NFL of all time, maybe.
Yep.
And you're just like, I've not seen one mock draft have the Cleveland's drafting a quarterback. I don't know why. Like, why wouldn't they draft a quarterback?
Because I think Cleveland is in the same situation the Falcons were last year, where they paid their QB and then they drafted Penix and everybody was like, what?
Yeah.
And now it makes sense because they're probably going to get rid of Kirk Cousins. So, I'm with you. I'm with you there. I don't know why.
Yeah. So if the Giants, want to move to that number 2 spot, and Cleveland's like, okay, we wanted Abdul Carter anyway, potentially, then the Giants give up probably like a first, or at least a second round pick. Cleveland moves back, drafts Abdul Carter with the 3 pick, but then whatever they got for trading Myles Garrett, they combine that pick in the second rounder they just got from the Giants, move back in to the first round and draft Genty. And then they come away from the first round with Gianti and Abdul Carter. And that could be like, it seemed like I just said a lot, but it would happen. It's kind of easy. So, yeah, I mean, I think Gianti is like one of those guys where a team that really wants him, they're going to have to maybe the world of, because, we get glued to these mock drafts, and then we assume like somebody got picked too high, and it's like Saquon Barkley was picked 2 overall. Zeke was picked 2 overall to the Cowboys. Like running backs, when they're this good, they go really high, and it just hasn't happened in a while. And I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland wants to not just assume that the Raiders, like, look at the mock draft. Do you have the Raiders draft in your mock drafts? Have you seen the Raiders drafting Gianti anywhere?
No.
Why not? Why not?
And that's what I'm thinking too. But kind of going back, right? Like, there's still a couple good other running backs here. Like Genti, don't get me wrong, is probably top pick because him and Travis Hunter were going back and forth for the Heisman. Now, you had mentioned prior to us starting the show, one of the running backs from North Carolina, Omarion Hampton. He's number 2 ranked in terms of the running back class. So I think if that situation that you talked about with the Browns and the Giants and the Patriots kind of, shifting, trading Myles Garrett, they get Genti. At that point, can you see Vegas going with an Omarion Hampton or maybe even a Caleb Johnson out of Iowa State, right? Like, I know I know we want the Broncos to get at least one of these top 3 guys, and the Broncos don't pick until the 20th pick. And I think maybe you can still get one of Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, if not maybe Travion Henderson out of Ohio State. But which one are you hoping falls to 20 for the Broncos, or do the Broncos trade up?
Oh, Ashton all day. Gianti.
Yeah.
I mean, the tiers, you got Ashton, Gianti, and then that's the end of tier 1. And I don't know if any of these other running backs are going to go in the first round. If they do, I could see them like late middle to the late round going.
You're getting Cam Scatabo.
No, we're not. Now Omarion Hampton, he reminds me a lot of Javonte Williams. Mm-hmm. He's a powerful runner, great short area burst, but he doesn't have the afterburners to like take it the distance. Trayvon Hendrickson, what I liked about him, I believe he was, I don't have his 40, but he's pretty fast. Like he's got pull away speed.
Yeah. And I got it for you, 4.39.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Okay. So very explosive, and his explosiveness best in this class. And he's definitely somebody that if he doesn't come off the board in the first round, likely day 2, he'll come off very early. I could see him being like the first or second pick of the second round. Quinshawn Judkins.
Oh, Quinshawn Judkins, yep.
And Omarion Hampton. They flip-flopped all year on these tier boards. Now, a lot of people have questions about his top-end speed. He has a really good burst and first step. He's a solid receiver. He's not exceptional. But his thing is he's a beast to tackle. Bounces off tackles left and right. And if he gets drafted by a team that utilizes a power running back, it would be a really good match. Kind of like Josh Jacobs, the way he plays and runs. And then the tier 3, Caleb Johnson, Devin Neal out of Kansas, Trevor Etienne, Travis Etienne's brother. I like Ollie Gordon a lot out of Oklahoma State, and I think whoever gets Ollie Gordon is going to get a beast of a player. And I would actually be happy with this pick here. He's very explosive as well. He's 233 pounds. I mean, what's weird about him is that in 2023, he was amazing, explosive. And then in 2024, he struggled a little bit. Now, 233 pounds is a lot, and that's what he weighed in at the Senior Bowl. For a back his size, he's very elusive. Like, he's kind of there's
Ezekiel
a little bit of a wild card to him, but I'm very interested in like my team, for instance, taking a chance on this guy. And then there was one more running back, Todd Brooks out of Texas Tech.
Oh, Taj Brooks, yeah.
I like the way he runs on the film too. But there's so many quality running backs in this draft class. Cutting the list off, at 15, 20, you could keep going. I mean, you really could. There's guys that I found, like Khalil Mullings out of Michigan. Arkansas's got Jaquidin Jackson, Virginia Tech, Baishal Tootin. By the way, this guy, Baishal Tootin out of
Tootin'.
Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
Tootin', I'm telling you, dude, that mark my words, Tootin is going to be a guy out of Virginia Tech. He's got very, very good speed. He runs really hard. He's really decisive. Doesn't go down. I mean, this is one of the best running back classes I've ever seen. This is a great running back class, and this guy's didn't even make the list of the top 20 running backs. I'm actually really gonna put this name here for you guys so you can look up yourself, but that's why it's hard to justify drafting a running back first round. I mean, if Genty falls to us, so be it. But if not, I still it's like everybody forgot that we drafted Audric Estime. Estime's still developing. He had a lot of really good runs. Like, I'm excited to see what he does in year 2. And if we want to draft one more, I think people are just like, we need that guy. We need a Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe we don't. Maybe Audric Estime takes the next step, and maybe we get another guy that's a little bit better than Estime. And maybe that's enough.
But don't you think, like, Knicks would benefit from having a Saquon? Like, any team would, but especially Knicks with how he excelled last year as a rookie. When he was the second best rookie quarterback last year and was pretty damn close to Jaden Daniels in terms of production, yards, touchdowns, all that. But like, in Sean Payton's like offense and the offense as a whole, I think that would be awesome. You know, obviously everybody would be great off with a Saquon, but moving forward with the Broncos after basically demolishing expectations last year, I think that'd be really good, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I know you like Estime, but if you can't pass, if you get a Genty or even
if he's on the board,
like you're taking him.
He's meeting with the Broncos right now.
Yeah.
Doing the pre-draft visit. So, like, Denver's interested in him. I just don't know if he falls that far, but maybe other teams will have that same philosophy. Like, let's not draft a running back in the first round in this type of a draft class. Let's go after the positions that we need that aren't going to be available later. And maybe Denver benefits because there's always a player that falls. And you're like, how did that player fall? But at the same time, our offensive line was one of the best run blocking grade offensive lines in the NFL. So if anything, Denver is less reliant on a Saquon Barkley. Like, would a Saquon Barkley be able to, exploit how good our offensive line is and take our running game to the next level? Yes, but it also means that if we just have a little bit above average running back, he's going to have good to great production behind this offensive line. I would rather see, yes, it's just, if it's not one of those top guys, I don't want to see them reach for a running back as if the sky is falling just because we really want a great running back. I would rather Denver draft Luther Burden instead of reach for a running back. That's just my opinion.
And I know you had Omarion Hampton, Caleb Johnson, later second round, if not early second round. And for the Bears, I kind of hope they get Caleb Johnson. I really do, because the Bears have right now 2 picks in the second round. And if one of the needs really truly is running back, like the DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson thing just doesn't seem to be working in Ben Johnson's favor, right? Like, let's get another guy named Caleb and with the last name Johnson, who's a running back, and let's get him as a 3-down back with this offense, right? So
same jersey numbers, so you don't have to buy a new jersey.
Exactly. But I'm liking Caleb Johnson. Ashton Genty is probably everyone's number one. How much do you put into the height of these guys? Because Ashton Genty is 5'9". Hampton Johnson 6 feet, and from there Henderson 5'10", Dylan Sampson 5'11". Who's the other guy? Taj Brooks 5'9". How much do you put into the height of these guys at all?
I do, because height is generally associated with hand size, arm length, wingspan, speed, all of that kind of stuff. So when you look at a running back, for instance, if he has larger hands, he's less likely to fumble. That was one of the things that Sean liked about Bo Nix, and he didn't fumble the ball once all last year. So Gianti, on the other hand, struggled with fumbles. And you look at his height, and he's 5'9"?
5'9", yep.
5'9". So yeah, he's a little bit smaller than you would like to see a running back, and maybe that's part of the reason that we saw him fumble as much as we saw him. But yeah, I mean, for instance, you want Johnson. My only issue with Caleb Johnson is the top end speed, which isn't an issue if you're in a 2 running back system. But if you're looking at making him the workhorse running back, then it's like, okay, we ideally have like a Jahmyr Gibbs type guy that can hit that second level of speed. I want a running back that can capitalize on just a little bit of separation and then just outrun the safety, make the safety take a bad angle. I thought I had him at this angle, and he just blew right past me. I can't tell you how much it sucks to see almost touchdowns all year long. And that difference between a 4.5 and a 4.3, that's the difference between an almost and taking it the whole way.
And that's one of the things they mention, is that Johnson is one of those downhill fucking bruiser types, but the speed, like you said, isn't there. I get you there.
Yeah, exactly. But you guys still have DeAndre Swift as well.
True.
So you're not going to be totally relying on him. I mean, you're not going to just bring in DeAndre Swift on third down. I mean,
no, I fucking hope not. And especially goal line formations, which is something Shane Waldron, for some reason, loved to fucking do. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Get the fuck out of here. All right, let's move on to the last topic on this show. We're going to be talking NFL Player Association report cards. And if you guys saw the thumbnail for the stream, you saw that the Vikings and the Dolphins, top teams in terms of grades. Now, this encapsulates a lot of things. The Players Association started this a few years ago, where they canvassed the players, and they're like, hey, take this survey, tell us what you liked, what you didn't like, and give us a letter grade associated with what you didn't like or did like. Now, now we talked about some of the worst teams. The Browns and the Patriots are actually on the very bottom of those. Another one was the Cardinals. The Cardinals are rough. If like their overall ranking of 32, and I'm going to go through what each team grades this on: treatment of families, food and dining area, nutritionist, dietitian, locker room, training staff, weight room, strength coaches, team travel, head coach, and ownership. The only things that the Cardinals scored of at least a B or better were the nutritionist, dietitians, team travel, and head coach. Everything else was below a B. And looking at all these cumulative grades from a lot of these teams, a lot of teams have A's and B's, and yeah, there's some C's, but like the locker room, F-. Weight room, F. Food dining area, D. Treatment of families, D+. That's rough, dude. That is rough for the Cardinals organization.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm like, what do you mean locker room F? I mean, what's going on in the locker room? I mean, is it just like, is it about the like morale, or is it just about the structural locker room?
So it says here, Cardinals players graded nearly every team facility poorly due to some combination of inadequate size to bad condition. So,
Okay.
size and condition.
Well, like, come on, get him a better locker room. What the hell?
Locker room has asbestos.
Yeah, and it's weird too because Denver got an F, and their new owners like just built this like multi-million-dollar. I've seen it. It's amazing. It's state of the art. I have no idea how they could have gotten an F. Like,
That's weird.
it doesn't make any sense. Like, look up pictures of it. It's huge. It's amazing. They have like, it's got to be like old data. I just don't get it.
Well, this is just during the season. So I wonder if by undersized.
Is it the away locker room?
No. This is talking about their facilities. I don't know. They said while the team received an F for an undersized locker room, there's a plan in place to build a new practice facility. Size of locker room.
We talked about that one.
Yeah, and I wonder if undersized locker room means like we're shoulder to shoulder while we're getting changed or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they are shoulder to shoulder.
They're rubbing their sweaty elbows next to each other.
I thought that's what a locker room is supposed to be.
I guess not. I guess not in the NFL level. High school, yeah. High school, yeah. You're getting a 250 square foot fucking locker room. NFL, let's go. Come on. What are we doing here?
You're going to feel some dude's sweaty ass cheek on your leg while you're...
Kyle, get your players a better locker room. What are you doing?
If you guys both try to put your underwear on at the same time, you're going to butt touch. This is the locker room.
Oh, they are literally right next to each other.
But that's dangerous. Unlimited. Dude, he just posted a picture of like, got to get that work in. Off season, got to get that work in. And I'm looking at it, and I didn't even know who it was at first. I was like, who's this fat dude?
Oh my God.
No, like he didn't even look like athletic in the video. I thought it was just like some dude that was like, I train quarterbacks. That's Russell Wilson. I was like, God, oh no. My God, that doesn't look like an NFL quarterback at all.
You're like, what are we doing here?
I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk about that next time about where he's going to go. Cause is he a backup now? It's such a weird thing.
Who fucking knows?
The Broncos
overall 17th. I was going to say middle of the pack. Not bad.
I mean, C-, treatment of families.
Yeah, that's not a very good one.
No. And I'm like, man, I wonder why.
Bears got a C+, so it's only slightly better.
Yeah, it's shocking to me. You know, I really like when I read this. I'm like, this is really surprising, very surprising. I mean, the Broncos had a good food and dining area. Their nutritionist and dietitian, A-. I know that. Even that's crazy because like Sean invested so much money into the nutritionists and dietitians there. Like I don't even know how that's not an A+. I don't even, there's only 2 teams that got an A+, and it was the Raiders and the Dolphins. And then the Falcons and Texans got an A, while the Chiefs, Broncos, Packers, and Panthers got an A-. But I'm like, okay, like what consists from an A- to an A+? You know what I mean?
Yeah, like so this is obviously, again, this is taking into consideration what the players think. So this is their opinion, right? And what, I don't know where, like you're asking, what's that A minus to A plus thing? Like, what is that extra little bit of juice that gets you somewhat of a full letter grade higher? Because the treatment of families for the Bears was C plus, and that's honestly actually the lowest grade, which is hilarious. Guess what the lowest grade was for the Bears, Kyle?
F.
The subject, not necessarily the actual grade, but
Okay.
yeah.
I'm gonna go with. I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Locker room.
Locker room, they actually got an A minus. The
Okay.
lowest grade they had was a
Treatment
C.
of families.
Close.
Nutrition, dietitian.
No, they actually got a B there.
Okay, finally, food and dining.
Incorrect again, Kyle. The worst graded was the head coach.
Oh,
Big
I didn't
surprise.
I didn't see these other ones.
Oh, you didn't? Okay,
Those are
that was a
good.
C, and that was 32nd. He was dead last. Eberflus was dead last amongst all coaches with a C.
Wow. I'm wondering where's my guys at? What did we get? Sean got a D?
Sean got an A.
Oh, he's a B.
Oh, B. Yeah, I'm looking at. Wow, Dallas Cowboys gave Mike McCarthy an A.
There you go.
That's crazy. Lions head coach A plus.
How does I'm confused, man.
What?
I'm like, how is it that, you know what though? Think about this, right?
Yeah.
The Dolphins got an A plus, but
Yep.
they haven't won a playoff game. The Vikings got an A plus, no playoff game. Falcons A plus. Now there is something to be said for teams that are the coach is the only exception will be the Mahomes Chiefs.
Yeah.
But Detroit A plus. Do you think there's a correlation between being like too much like we are on the same level versus I'm the coach and you're the players? Like that coach to player dynamic, it's a balance.
Maybe, but what do you mean by that exactly? Like the fact
Well,
that
like,
Dan
let's say
Campbell
a
used to
coach
play?
No, like Bill Parcells, right? Like what I wonder where he would have rated. Like we know
Yeah.
he was a great head coach, but he was also like, I'm gonna tell you how it is. I'm not gonna go to the Miami Heat game with you, you know? outside of here.
Oh, okay. So kind of like that players coach
Right, because the
label.
players are the ones saying,
Correct.
hey,
Yeah. So I don't know, man, because you got Dan Campbell who had a really good grade.
like
but-
imagine if we could grade our teachers. You know?
Oh, I mean, what is that? Radar professors, university level? Have you heard of that?
I haven't.
Yeah, it's like rateyourprofessors.com or something like that.
I think it should happen though.
So maybe there is a correlation because I'm looking at the Panthers, right? Their overall ranking was 25th, but head coach A minus. Like
They're like,
Canales.
shit, he was cool.
What'd you say?
They're like, shit, man, he was cool. We didn't even have to come in on Mondays.
Dude was lit, man. He fucking he got hammered with us in the locker room after games. Like it was a good time.
I'd do anything for him besides that. Besides play football.
Besides the gay stuff, that's gay. But I don't know, man. Maybe there is that correlation. I just think this is interesting. Like first of all, what do you think about these report cards in general? Because you and I took something similar like this in the Navy, and it was called a climate survey, where we were asked several questions. And the idea behind it is to improve upon those things that you think need improvement And we, for the most part, we didn't really take those seriously, maybe just speaking for myself and like a handful of others. But it seems to me that these guys, because if you gave your head coach an A minus, he still ranks like middle of the pack in terms of all the head coaches. So what is your opinion on this? I like it because it forces, not necessarily forces, but it gives the organization idea of like, oh, our nutrition isn't on point and these guys get paid millions and we make billions of dollars. Why is that?
Yeah, I think the head coach one, if you look at all the categories, you have the most A's on head coach.
Yeah.
So you got I think you got to add in the dynamic of like, it's easier to talk shit about, for instance, the locker room than it is to talk about the head coach, because it's like the head coach is a person where the locker room is just shelves. Like there's no emotional ties to the structure. So I think more people might be inclined to be like, I'm not gonna, like these things are reported publicly. I'm not gonna give my guy, a bad grade.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. I mean, there's so many like variables at play. I had teachers that I would have said were, I didn't like them, and then like later on, I respected them because I was like, okay, they were just like a little bit harder on me than the other teachers. But the teacher that I would have given an A plus, they were awesome and they played like a role in that balance of not hating school, but they also didn't necessarily change me. Not to say that these adults need to be changed. I'm just using that as an example of like, sometimes I think the head coach one can be different because it's also like personality types. Like what if one person likes the way the coach is and the other person's like, I can't stand this guy,
True.
It's like very different than the other team travel, right? Most people, you kind of get an idea of like, yeah, our team travel kind of sucks. Like, I don't like the charter that we selected. I don't like the food when we're on the plane. Those things seem a lot easier. I would say like head coach is the hardest one. I think even ownership, there can be a disconnect from the players where they can shit on an owner. But the head coach one's a little funky. Now, the ownership one, I think, might be probably the most accurate, just because if you have a good owner or a bad owner, like the players are going to tell you, I feel like.
Yeah, that's kind of the one I was thinking too, where the head coach and the ownership, those are different because you deal with a head coach all the time. And yeah, you may meet the owners, you may meet the front office type of people, or mostly the owner, obviously, in this case, but there's definitely a difference, and especially with the ownership, because it's like, does the ownership care about winning? Does the ownership, are they making moves? Are they listening? Are they actually listening to what we're saying in these report cards, right? Like that's, to me, that's a big thing as well. Now, who do you think was number one overall? Or did you already see who it was?
The Dolphins?
The Dolphins had the lowest grade of an A. That was the lowest. Head coach, A+. Ownership, A+. Team travel, A+. Strength coaches, A+. Like the lowest grades were A's, and that was treatment of families, training room, and training staff. But
oh, really?
Yeah, but you had been in a playoff game. So sorry, I froze there. So I wonder what like the connection, if there is one.
Well,
like, is there anything there?
You can set up all of these things, but none of it matters if like the football players don't win games, right?
Right.
It's like okay, we gave you the best dining room, we gave you the best facility, you got the best nutritionist, and okay, you got everything you need, right? It's just like that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where he's like, you know, it and like he says something like an M16 is just a piece of metal unless you have a trained Marine to pull the trigger.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
It's like you got all this stuff, but do you have players that want to win? Do you have because that's really what it comes down to. I mean, the Chiefs got a C- on ownership.
Yep.
And their ownership is like won 3 Super Bowls in the last
3 in the last 6-7 years. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, head coach was an A+, so that's important.
Yeah.
And how do you see like the overall, like after everything said and done, these teams are on top? Like where did the Broncos fall? Because I can't see it on mine.
They were 17th, I believe, or 19th, 17th. The Bears were 14th. Obviously, Dolphins first, Vikings second, Panthers 25th, for example. Buffalo Bills 23rd.
Yeah, I mean they're getting a new stadium, so we know that things are in the work. That's probably what they're going to tell them too. Is like, hey, we know we're working on some of this stuff. But I mean, like the Broncos had got an F with the locker room, but besides that, their lowest grade was a C- on the treatment of families one.
Yeah.
I wonder what that. I'm just curious on.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's like a single incident, like something that came to mind.
I gotta see what that is too, because like NFLPA treatment of families, like what does that mean, right?
Treatment of families was a D plus in 2024 for the Broncos.
So they improved.
And then in 2023, treatment of families was a D plus.
So I'm looking at the Bengals one, and there's an article here that goes a little bit more in depth, not too much in depth. The Bengals are the only team in the NFL who do not offer either daycare or a family room during home games. According to NFLPA, one player described the Bengals family accommodation as almost disrespectful.
Wow.
So that's something.
Dude, you're a millionaire and you can't get daycare?
They're probably billionaires, but yes, at least a millionaire, and you can't get a daycare. Players.
Like, you get a nanny.
Yeah, but I still think like if a billionaire owner can't add a family room to the stadium or like some sort of daycare, you know what I mean? Like that does definitely affect a player and their family. Now I'm trying to see
maybe like family events too, like dinners, at the team facility, like maybe like a ball. I don't know, like just stuff like that where the family is part of the operation instead of it just being about football.
Instead of a nuisance almost. Because this is also Bengals players wanted, quote, somewhere better than a tent outside for families to gather after the game, a family room to get their loved ones out of the cold, and daycare on game days for their kids.
And they're like, yeah, dude, buy a box if you want.
Which is, I don't know, man. True. Like I gotta side the players on this one. It's like, all right, if you're giving me a tent,
I do too. Yourself. It's like, dude, you're an NFL player, and you should be able to invite your family to the game. And I would even go as far as having a section of the stadium that's dedicated to the family.
I would say the same thing. Now, one of the funniest ones, and unless you got something else after this, we'll wrap it up after this. The Patriots ranked 31st. So it was the, I forget who I said 30, Cardinals last, Patriots 31st. One of the F's that they gave was team travel. They say the plane is too small, doesn't offer Wi-Fi, and the seats still, stunningly, have ashtrays in the armrests. I'm like, is that a plane from the early or late 90s? Because that's the last time I feel like you could smoke on a plane.
That's hilarious. It's actually the Boeing. See, I was a flight attendant, so I can talk a little bit
Oh, I
about
love it.
this.
Yeah, we got some inside info.
So when I was a flight attendant, we chartered the San Francisco Giants and the Florida Panthers, the hockey team.
Nice.
And they did have planes where there was still ashtrays on. Not all of them.
Yeah.
But some of the planes that are just a little bit older tend to have that. So the Patriots are the airline that operates the Patriots charter is Omni Air International.
Okay.
So they do that with 2 Boeing 767-300 passenger aircraft. And when you look at these planes, they're painted in Patriot colors of red, white, and blue. I'm just going to show you the aircraft because this is, in my opinion, it's not like, I mean, look, I'm just going to be real. This is like what regular people fly on. And they're like, come on. We want to be like in, something nicer.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I totally get that. You know why? Because they fly more than regular people.
That is true. Like if we can have air conditioning on our planes as Navy air crewmen, if we've got
said they didn't have air conditioning.
No. But I'm saying like if we can have things like that, some comfortable chairs, like as a billionaire, you can afford. So actually, going back to it, it's not necessarily what the team provides; it's who they choose as an airline to charter them. Is that correct?
Right. So the team chooses the charter company, and the charter company chooses the plane.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's probably more on the. I think I would probably blame both.
Patriots to be like. I mean, if your head coach is, your whole team's on the plane, and it's like this comes up, and if I'm the owner and I'm flying with the team and I'm on this plane, I'm calling Omni Air immediately, and I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you sending us? Why do we have a plane from 1977? Dude, we're the Patriots. What are you doing? We should have the most badass plane ever. We won 6 Super Bowls. Like, what are you doing? Like, if somebody sees our plane, it looks like it could just be a very passionate rich guy that just was like, I'm going to make my plane a Patriot.
Exactly.
It could just be like, I don't know. It almost looks like something that would be outside of a Patriot museum. And it's like, that's what chartered the Patriots, in their 2002 Super Bowl era. It doesn't look like it belongs in this at all.
Back when Tom Brady wasn't old enough to drink.
And it's so funny because Omni Air on their website, they're so proud of this. Look at the way they talk about the agreement brings together industry-leading organizations that value their people, patriotism, professionalism, and a culture of success. We are proud to include the Patriots aircraft in support of our clientele. Both aircraft reflect the Patriots team colors of red, white, and blue with the team's 6 Super Bowl championship Lombardi trophies displayed on their tails. The uniqueness of the aircraft is attractive across our diverse customer base, Vice President said, and the unique cabin layout of the aircraft, which offers 80 business class seats among its total, complements 203. Wow. In addition, it provides custom chartered solutions for sports teams. What the hell is a chartered solution?
And also, you're proud. They're not proud of what they're flying in.
They got film crews, music tours, corporate leisure travel, emergency evacuations, and government and military transport throughout the world on short notice. Charter inquiries may be directed to. Dude, they're literally trying to, like, in this article, they're trying to get a new, like, they're using this as like a promotion. That's
Fly
to tell
on the
you
air.
everything you need. Like, it's not a dedicated Patriot page. It's like, yeah, this is what we're doing with the Patriots. If you want to apply for us to charter you, here's an email. I'm not even kidding. Like, that's so embarrassing.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, that was the report cards. There's obviously a lot of other things, but I would definitely encourage a lot of you guys to go check that out because it is kind of funny what they say about it. And
How did you find those, like, what the Patriots said about it?
so I found it on Yahoo Sports, where I just searched, I Googled NFLPA report cards and I chose Yahoo, and they have like a little blurb about each team and, kind of what their complaints were. So again, I know some of this stuff is like no Wi-Fi or ashtrays on the seats. And it's like, if you're going to be run as an NFL organization that wants to win and is proud of their championships, I feel like your travel and your locker rooms and your treatment of families should reflect such an organization. That's just me, and I'm not even part of it,
Yeah. Yeah. And it all starts with ownership. I mean, because if any of these areas are graded low, it really is on the ownership to care enough to do it. And although I'm not happy with our C- of treatment of families or an F for the locker room, I am happy with them ranking 6th in team travel and also ranking 4th in ownership, because
That's good. Yeah.
the ownership group did come in and they have bumped all these grades up, and it's only uphill from here. I mean, these owners are like, what do you guys want? New uniforms? Done. What do you want? A bigger score?
Yeah.
And dude, they brought in Kentucky Bluegrass for the second consecutive season in the middle of the season. That's like $400,000 on grass just because Sean told them if we get like new grass mid-season, that the risk of injury is going to be reduced. So like they're very tentative and intentional with everything, and that's all you can ask for. Like, if you're grading low but your ownership is also low, good riddance. You know what I mean?
Exactly. But Kyle, I think it's time for the motherfucking. You're gonna have to do it because I'm frozen. For the motherfucking.
Welcome to the Chives with Kyle. All right. We got some pretty good chives today. All right. Is it possible Matthew Stafford is going to be a Raider? Yes, it is. It is possible because it has just been leaked that Matthew Stafford, and I'm not making this up, is currently with Tom Brady, who is a minority owner of the Patriots.
Yes.
And Tom Brady, trying to recruit the Super Bowl winning quarterback Matthew Stafford to the Raiders,
Yep.
has opened up his own personal home in Wyoming. And Brady and Stafford recently ran into each other unplanned at a ski resort in Montana.
Unplanned,
according to the NFL Network Wednesday afternoon. The meeting was reportedly not extensive or in-depth and didn't involve the 7-time Super Bowl champion hosting or recruiting Stafford, despite earlier reports.
Yeah.
All indications are that Brady has taken a prominent role in the Raiders' new regime, including with the coaching search that led to Pete Carroll. That now includes trying to convince Stafford to come to Las Vegas, where the new general manager, Josh Spiketick, has had his eyes on quarterback help. I don't really want to talk about other teams, players, and get into any trouble in my first press conference. But I would just say that if there's an opportunity for any player that we can add value to the Raiders, we'll look into it. So look, everybody's walking on eggshells. Are we allowed to do it? Is it too early? Nobody's going to come out and be like, yeah, they were totally planning. Let me just tell you this. Nobody bumps into each other in Montana at a ski resort. All right?
That's what I'm saying.
If me and Rick bumped into each other unplanned at a ski resort in Montana, I think that I would feel like I'm in a simulation.
Yeah.
That would be like the all-time weirdest thing that would ever happen. And I wouldn't even believe him. I would be like, there's no way. What did I say? How did you know? Like, no one, dude, Tom Brady. Think about Tom Brady. Like, could go anywhere in the world. The Bahamas, Mexico, the
Caribbean,
Rico, like Miami, New York, LA, Chicago.
Yep.
You're telling me that Tom Brady went to
unplanned.
Montana? Unplanned. He went to Montana and Stafford happened to be there. I mean, I can't believe anybody would believe that. I really can't. And it's like obviously not true. They definitely are there hanging out. Now, what is up for debate is if Tom Brady is recruiting Matthew Stafford or if they're just friends and wanted to go hang out and get away from all the noise. I mean, he just called the Super Bowl. That is so draining and taxing. Maybe he just wanted to go somewhere where things like this wouldn't be leaked.
And Casey makes a good point. Montana is a big state. They bumped into each other in Connecticut would be more likely.
Yeah, or Whidbey Island.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, the Rams probably prefer to have Stafford back in 2025. I still said the trade that makes the most sense would be to send him to the Vikings and send Sam Darnold to the Rams. But I mean, I'm sure Tom Brady was having a couple of drinks with Stafford, and I'm sure the topic came up, right? Like I'm sure that
100%.
Even if he wasn't the minority owner of the Raiders, it would come up. So why wouldn't it with him being the minority? You know, you're somebody that I'm a friend. You're potentially going to a new team. Like, these are things that they're talking about. They just can't publicly acknowledge any of this. But yes, Tom Brady meeting with Stafford. It doesn't mean that he's going to the Raiders, but it does mean that they're friends. The Raiders are looking for a quarterback, and maybe Tom Brady is trying to, open a door for him.
And even if it's like a 3 to 5 minute conversation when you, Tom, oh my God, you're here at the same place. Like, that's still like Tom Brady being like, so, hey man, how's it going? How's the family? Good. Okay, cool. Well, what are you thinking for next year? Oh, okay. Have you looked into anything else? Blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. Well, nice meeting up. We'll see you later. Hit those slopes, blah, 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 blah. It was mentioned. God damn it. I don't want to hear this bullshit that it wasn't mentioned. And I'm just going to.
No, it's impossible. They wouldn't be friends if it didn't come up, and they wouldn't be there if they weren't friends. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So NFL media, I don't want to hear this bullshit about this whole it didn't happen.
Ian Rappaport came out probably per Tom Brady favor. Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford, like many other high-profile people, both own houses in the same ski community. Okay, first, this is true. I know that people in Aspen and Breckenridge, a lot of those celebrities and rich people
own. Is that Colorado?
Yep.
Okay.
They own, but still, like, it's not even ski season.
I mean, Kyle knows this shit. Kyle knows about airplanes and fucking ski resorts. All right, we know this shit.
It might be. I mean, it's okay. Early April, so maybe it's still skiing.
Damn it. Okay, fuck.
I'm sorry. Today it was like almost 80 degrees here. So it snowed last week, and I just I don't know. I feel like I'm in spring now because we're talking about free agents. Yep. But still, I don't know, like, I don't know what to make of it, but Ian Rappaport came out and said basically, like, yeah, a lot of celebrities, own a
Mm-hmm.
resort in this same ski community. It's not that weird.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it is something that after the Super Bowl's done, like these players, because it's still ski season, maybe
Mm-hmm.
they like go there to get away from everything. Well, I don't know if that's like, but even if that were the case, like they talked about it. Do you think they're like that, like serious about it? You don't think they like turn their phones off and just like get away from, the public area and have a conversation? Like, I doubt they're that
Exactly.
paranoid where they can't even talk.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't believe this whole bullshit about, oh, they just bumped into each other. But regardless, it's going to be interesting because the Rams still want Stafford back. But we will see how all that develops as we move along this offseason. Now, I do want to address real quick one comment by Crafty. Very sorry to learn about Bill. May he rest in peace. And yeah, we are still mourning the loss of Bill. If you guys look at the ticker at the very bottom of your screen, we have just a quick little message about Bill. Bill lives forever. And Kyle and I, talked about ways we're gonna honor him because Bill will forever be a part of this show. We will find a way to incorporate Bill into every episode, every show. We're just gonna figure out how to do that, and of course, we're gonna have a Bill episode. So you guys stay tuned for that. Other than that, again, we're still mourning the loss of one of our biggest supporters, and he would want us to continue to talk shit about the Giants, regardless of how they do. But I do hope the Giants do well for Bill. We miss you every day, Bill. But thank you guys so much to everyone who was here. I'm sorry you can't see my gorgeous face. I'm frozen right now. I'm a little frozen right now, so it's Kyle too.
I decided
Apparently.
to join you as a
Yeah.
circle. We're just two circles
We're
chatting away.
two circles chatting away. So
I like how when I'm talking, my circle like expands.
yeah, because of the noise or whatever.
It's like, oh, my turn.
No, my turn.
No,
But thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you
Like
guys
Beavis
so
and Butthead.
much.
You know how their mouths open, like, or South Park, how their
Yeah.
mouths open when they talk.
Shut up, Kyle.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you guys so much for being here. KC, Head on Fire, Nick, we had Crafty, we had Edub in here, and Daniel Barry. So thank to all of you guys for being here. We appreciate you guys being here, always supporting us, always in the comments, always having a conversation. We really, really appreciate it. And of course, quick note, I will be gone the next about 2 weeks. Honeymoon time. I'm obviously going to be keeping up with free agency, but if you don't see me on any episodes for these next couple weeks, just know I am getting toasted in the sun with my wife, having a great time and probably drunk for most of the day. So wish me well on the honeymoon. Boo! Boo, Wheaties! Wish me well on the honeymoon. I'm going to have a great time. Hopefully my plane doesn't flip over, but if it does, I hope I get a really good settlement out of it. Thank you guys again for being here.
We made a vow to not let Rick do any work while he's on
Kyle
his
did tell me
honeymoon.
that. I did say I would try to pose, and he's like, "No, you fucking won't. You're on your honeymoon."
So if he like goes behind my back and tries to get you guys to give me some information about something, don't even respond to him. Just ignore him completely, and we'll see Rick when he gets back.
Delete those messages. But other than that, again, thank you guys so much for being here. Kyle, go Giants. Go Giants. And thank you guys again for being here. And Kyle, always a good time, brother.
Always a good time.